The universe had always been a vast, chaotic sea of stars, with a handful of civilizations dotting its expansive black ocean. Some were peaceful, others warlike, but none had truly been tested by something greater than themselves. Earth was an anomaly in that regard, isolated, watching from the sidelines, yet never fully part of the intergalactic dance. That changed the day the Varan Empire arrived. The Varans were one of the most powerful and technologically advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Their empire spanned dozens of star systems, their ships capable of decimating entire fleets. They were ruthless conquerors, driven by an unyielding need to expand and control. For centuries, they had steamrolled their way across the galaxy, annihilating any species that dared to stand in their way. Earth, meanwhile, was still new to the intergalactic stage, its first exploration ships barely a decade old. Its inhabitants had no idea the galaxy had grown so perilous. Humanity had no business in galactic politics until the Varans decided to make Earth their next target. And when the Varans set their sights on a planet, they didn't ask for permission. They simply arrived. Their warships entered Earth's solar system without warning, their presence detected only moments before their weapons began to fire. A shockwave of energy coursed through the atmosphere, disrupting communication networks and satellites, signaling that something catastrophic had just begun. The first response from humanity was confusion, followed by panic. Governments scrambled to issue statements, but none of them had an answer. Earth's small military, ill-equipped and underprepared, could only look up in awe and horror as the invaders' massive ships, armed with weapons of unimaginable power, began their descent. Chapter 2: The Call to Arms. The world's leaders were in disarray, but one voice stood out above the rest, the voice of President Eleanor Miles. She had risen to power through years of diplomacy and calm leadership, but today, none of her usual tools would work. The Varan Empire was here, and Earth had no choice but to fight. "We will not fall." "Not today," President Miles declared in a broadcast that was simultaneously aired across all major media outlets. Her words, calm but resolute, resonated with a frightened world. Behind the scenes, military leaders scrambled. General Mark Harris, the head of Earth's unified forces, sat in his office, eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Varan fleet. It was massive and overwhelming force capable of destroying anything in its path. His mind raced as he weighed his options. Earth had a few old warships, some barely functional space fleets, but nothing that could stand up to the might of the Varan Empire. Yet, in the midst of all the uncertainty, one thing became painfully clear: Earth had no choice but to fight. They could not afford to wait for diplomacy to work. They could not afford to negotiate or beg for mercy. They had to fight, and they had to win. The unified forces of Earth began to assemble. What they lacked in numbers and technology, they would make up for with sheer determination. A call was made to all of Earth's allies, any civilization with a ship, with weapons, with a will to survive. Together, humanity and its allies would fight back against the alien threat. Chapter 3: The Unexpected Arrival. As humanity mobilized, something unexpected happened. The Varans, confident in their ability to crush any resistance, began their invasion with an unanticipated force, arrogance. They underestimated Earth, as they had with countless civilizations before. They thought Earth's military was weak, its technology primitive. They couldn't have been more wrong. What the Varans didn't realize was that humanity had something they could not predict, something they couldn't possibly have understood: the capacity to innovate under pressure. For centuries, humans had been inventors, scientists, and explorers. They had thrived on their ability to think differently, to adapt, and to survive against overwhelming odds. It wasn't just humanity's technology that was about to make a difference, it was their spirit, their creativity, and their willingness to use everything at their disposal. Enter the human-made warships. Years earlier, Earth's engineers and military scientists had been working on a top-secret project, a new breed of space vessels designed for deep space exploration, resource harvesting, and defense. These ships, while originally intended for peaceful purposes, were outfitted with cutting-edge weaponry and shields capable of withstanding extreme conditions. The ships had been designed to be adaptable, capable of being rapidly modified for any situation. In the wake of the Varan attack, those ships, now repurposed for combat, were deployed into the fray. The human ships weren't massive like the Varan behemoths, but they were fast, highly maneuverable, and deadly accurate. And then there was the most unexpected twist of all: humanity's artificial intelligence. A new generation of AIs, developed over the past 2 decades, had matured far beyond anything the Varans could have anticipated. These AIs were not just for communication or navigation, they were tactical geniuses, capable of coordinating fleets with precision and efficiency. The war was about to take an unexpected turn. Chapter 4: The Battle Begins. At 800 hours Earth Standard Time, the first shots were fired. The Varan warships opened fire on Earth's major cities, targeting strategic locations. Their weapons, capable of tearing apart entire buildings, ravaged New York, Paris, Beijing, and dozens of other major hubs. The air crackled with the sound of destruction. But humanity wasn't sitting idle. Admiral Kayla Thompson, one of the most brilliant tacticians in Earth's military, commanded the newly formed Human Defense Fleet. Under her direction, the human ships Speedy, Adaptive, and Deadly launched an all-out counterattack. The Varans had expected Earth to cower. They didn't anticipate the sheer speed and precision of the human response. Human pilots, many of them civilians trained only in the basics of combat, proved to be resourceful and fearless, using every tool at their disposal to strike back. Their ships darted in and out of the Varan fire with extraordinary agility, employing hit-and-run tactics that disoriented and frustrated the Varan fleet. Then came the breakthrough. The human AIs, integrated into the ship's systems, began to predict and counter the Varan movements with terrifying accuracy. Each ship's position, each weapon fired, and each maneuver was coordinated with mind-bending precision. The Varans, used to overwhelming force and brute strength, were caught off guard by the adaptability of the human fleet. By 900 hours, the Varans began to lose their footing. Their ships, though far larger and more heavily armed, began to fall in greater numbers. Humanity's tactics, unpredictable, innovative, and devastatingly effective, tore into their ranks. But it wasn't just the ships doing the damage. In the midst of the chaos, humanity's greatest weapon revealed itself: the human will to fight. Civilians, soldiers, engineers, and scientists alike were throwing themselves into the war effort. Earth's major cities became command centers for the resistance, with civilians operating the very systems they had built. Engineers on the ground were hacking into the Varan networks, disrupting their communications and sabotaging their technology. And the Varans had no idea what they were up against. Chapter 5: The Turning Point. By 12 hours, the tide had completely turned. The Varan Empire, once so confident in its power, was now scrambling to regroup. Their fleet, once a vast and seemingly indomitable force, was in disarray. The human fleet, aided by their AI, was now relentlessly pursuing them, dismantling the Varan ships one by one. But the Varans were not easily defeated. In the heart of their flagship, General Kair, one of the Varan Empire's most feared leaders, barked orders to his remaining fleet commanders. Regroup. Reassess. We can still crush them, he shouted, his voice trembling with anger. However, the Varans didn't understand. By now, Earth's forces had found their weakness. The Varan warships, despite their size and power, lacked the versatility and rapid response capabilities of humanity's ships. The human fleet had adapted, and with each new battle, they became more skilled, more coordinated, and more deadly. At 1300 hours, General Kair's flagship was hit. The ship, massive and heavily armored, had been thought invulnerable, but a well-placed strike from a human fighter brought it to its knees. The flagship's destruction sent shockwaves through the Varan fleet, triggering a mass retreat. By 14 hours, the Varans were in full retreat, their forces shattered, their morale broken. Earth had won. Chapter 6: The Aftermath. Victory had come quickly, too quickly for the Varans to mount a proper defense. In just 5 hours, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted irreparably. The invaders, who had once thought Earth to be a primitive world, had underestimated humanity's potential for adaptation, resilience, and innovation. As Earth's military leaders began to assess the aftermath of the battle, the world took a collective breath. The planet had been ravaged, but humanity had proven itself. In the span of 5 hours, Earth had gone from being an insignificant player in the galaxy to a force capable of changing the fate of entire civilizations. President Miles addressed the planet, her voice carrying the weight of both triumph and solemnity. "Today, humanity has shown what we are capable of," she said. "Not just as a species, but as a united force. We will rebuild, and we will stand together. The galaxy now knows us, and they know we will never fall without a fight." Humanity had entered the war. And in just 5 hours, victory had been achieved. Chapter 7: The Echoes of Victory. The Varan Empire had been dealt a crippling blow, but humanity's war had only just begun. In the aftermath of the victory, Earth's leaders, military officials, and civilians alike were left to contend with the enormity of what had transpired. Victory had come so quickly, so decisively, that it left many feeling unprepared for the long-term consequences. Admiral Kayla Thompson, who had led Earth's defense fleet to victory, stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, looking out at the smoldering wreckage of the Varan warships. The battle had been won, but there was no time for celebration. The galaxy was a vast, unpredictable place, and humanity had just made an indelible mark. What would the other civilizations think? Would they see Earth as a potential ally or a threat? "Admiral, we've received a transmission from the Galactic Senate," Commander Lisa Zhang said, walking up to the console with a grave expression. "They want to meet." Thompson's gaze sharpened. She had expected this. The Galactic Senate was the most powerful governing body in the galaxy, composed of representatives from hundreds of species and civilizations. If Earth was to take its place on the galactic stage, the Senate would have to be dealt with. But how would they react to a planet that had just taken down one of the most feared empires in the galaxy in a matter of hours? "Patch it through," Thompson ordered. A hologram flickered to life in front of her, displaying the stern face of Senator Kalen from the Vartan Federation, a species known for its meticulous bureaucracy and long-standing neutrality. "Admiral Thompson," Senator Kalen began, his voice as cold as the vacuum of space. "We are aware of humanity's actions in the past few hours. To put it simply, the galaxy is concerned. Your unexpected entry into galactic affairs has caused quite a stir." Thompson kept her expression neutral. She had anticipated such a reaction. The galaxy's established powers would not welcome the sudden rise of a new, unpredictable force. The Varans had been an accepted threat, something that all the other species had known how to deal with. But humanity's sudden emergence had thrown that balance into disarray. "Senator Kalen," Thompson replied, her tone calm but firm. "We did what we had to do to protect our planet. The Varans made the mistake of underestimating us. But we don't seek conflict with the rest of the galaxy. We only seek to protect our people and ensure our place in this universe." Kalen's gaze remained fixed on her. "Understand this, Admiral. We do not tolerate the rise of new powers without careful scrutiny. You are a threat to the balance of power we have worked so hard to maintain. And unless you are willing to abide by the laws of the Galactic Senate and submit to our oversight, we will treat you as such." Thompson's lips tightened. "Humanity will not be controlled by anyone, Senator. We will stand as equals on the galactic stage. But we will not be bullied into submission." Kalen's hologram flickered for a moment, and when it returned, his tone had softened, but there was no mistaking the underlying menace in his voice. "We shall see, Admiral. You have made your point. But I hope you understand that the galaxy is a far more dangerous place than you realize. The Varan Empire was merely one of many powers that will now turn their gaze upon you. And some of them may not be as forgiving." With that, the transmission ended, leaving the bridge silent. Admiral Thompson exhaled slowly, her hands gripping the edge of the command console. The conversation had been as expected, a mixture of caution and veiled threats. The galaxy was not going to accept humanity's sudden rise without challenge, and the Senate would not let Earth go unchecked. "We need to prepare," Thompson said, turning to her crew. "Humanity's victory may have been swift, but now we must think long-term. The galaxy is watching, and we need to ensure we can defend ourselves against whatever comes next." Chapter 8: The Council of Earth. Back on Earth, President Eleanor Miles convened a meeting of world leaders. The scale of the threat they had just averted was unprecedented. The Varens had been pushed back, but they were not the only power in the galaxy. And now, Earth would have to learn how to navigate the complex and dangerous political landscape of the galactic community. The leaders of Earth's major factions, military, scientific, diplomatic, gathered in the new council chamber, built to symbolize Earth's new place in the galaxy. Miles stood before them, her face resolute. "We've shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of. But now, we must show them that we are not just a flash in the pan. Our victory was a demonstration of our resolve, but we need more than that if we are to survive and thrive in this new era. We need to be prepared for what comes next." General Mark Harris, who had coordinated the defense efforts, spoke up. "The Varens weren't the only threat out there. As the senator from the Galactic Senate warned, we've made ourselves a target. Other powers in the galaxy will now see us as either a potential ally or a potential rival. We have to be ready to face whatever comes next, and we need to establish a stronger military presence in the galaxy." "I agree," Miles replied. "But we cannot go into this blindly. Our best option is to seek alliances, to form partnerships that can offer us protection and stability. If we can secure our place in the galaxy's political and military structure, we can ensure Earth's survival. I've already begun reaching out to other galactic factions," Dr. Lydia Zhao, Earth's top scientist, said. "Our technology is still relatively primitive compared to the rest of the galaxy, but it's improving rapidly. We need to expand our research efforts, focusing on energy weapons, faster than light travel, and defensive technologies. We can't just rely on brute strength to secure our position." "I'll make sure the military is ready to implement that," Harris assured her. "We've got the best engineers working day and night to upgrade our ships and weapons. The next time a battle comes, we'll be ready." Miles nodded, her mind already racing with the possibilities. Earth had proven itself capable of defending its own, but now it had to build a reputation as a diplomatic force to be reckoned with as well. Alliances would be essential, but so would the trust of the galaxy's other powers. Earth had no room for mistakes. "All right," Miles said, standing tall. "We've won a major victory. But the war for Earth's place in the galaxy is just beginning." Chapter 9: Shadows in the Dark. As Earth's leadership began to form its strategies for the future, an unsettling reality loomed in the shadows. The galaxy was not a simple, peaceful place. Despite the Varen defeat, the galaxy's other factions began to take notice of the human threat. Humanity was no longer a backwater planet, it was a new power, and some powers viewed that with suspicion, others with outright hostility. At the edge of the galaxy, an ancient and secretive civilization, the Sarlith, watched the events unfold. For centuries, the Sarlith had remained hidden, avoiding galactic politics and warfare. But the sudden rise of humanity, combined with their unexpected military prowess, had drawn their attention. "We must act," said the Sarlith representative, a tall, enigmatic figure shrouded in dark robes. "The humans are a new variable, one we did not foresee. If we do not intervene now, they may upset the delicate balance of power." "But they've shown strength," another Sarlith elder replied, his voice low and rasping. "We cannot underestimate them. Their swift victory against the Varens is a sign of their potential." "We must test them," the first representative insisted. "Let them believe they are safe. Let them believe they have earned their place. And when they are least expecting it, we will strike." Chapter 10: The Long Road Ahead. On Earth, President Miles and Admiral Thompson prepared for the coming diplomatic missions. They would need to navigate the treacherous waters of intergalactic politics, forging alliances, gaining recognition, and ensuring humanity's place as a respected power in the galaxy. The lessons learned from the Varan War were still fresh in their minds, but the real challenge lay in what came next. The galaxy was vast, and the road ahead would be fraught with danger. But Earth had proven that it could face the unknown and come out on top. Now, it would need to do so again this time, not through military might, but through diplomacy, intelligence, and alliances. And as humanity reached out to the stars, one thing was certain: Earth's place in the galaxy was no longer a question. It was a reality. Chapter 11: A Glimmer of Hope. In the months that followed the Varan defeat, Earth's position in the galaxy was still precarious. The swift victory over the Varans had solidified humanity's reputation as a force to be reckoned with, but the true test lay ahead. The galactic factions, each with their own interests and agendas, watched Earth with a mixture of wariness and curiosity. The galaxy was not an easy place to navigate, and humanity's sudden rise left many uncertain about what the future held. President Eleanor Miles, along with Admiral Kayla Thompson, continued to pursue diplomatic efforts while simultaneously strengthening Earth's military capabilities. The goal was clear: ensure Earth's survival while seeking alliances that could provide both protection and mutual benefit. But a disturbing silence had settled in the higher echelons of galactic politics. The Galactic Senate, which had once been active in their communications with Earth, had gone quiet. Though they had sent formal congratulations for Earth's victory over the Varans, there had been no further discussions on potential treaties or alliances. This lack of engagement was both frustrating and disconcerting. Humanity's leaders were not sure whether the Senate was hesitant to acknowledge Earth's newfound power or whether darker forces were at play. Admiral Thompson, standing on the bridge of the Vanguard, stared out at the stars as the ship traveled through hyperspace, heading toward the Vartan Federation for a critical diplomatic meeting. Her mind raced with concerns. Earth had shown strength, but had it been enough to forge meaningful alliances? "How much longer, Captain?" she asked, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the ship's command center. 10 minutes until we arrive in Vartan space, Admiral, replied Captain Ramir, a grizzled veteran with years of experience. Thompson nodded, though she couldn't shake the feeling of unease. It wasn't just the Vartan Federation that concerned her, it was the larger question of humanity's place in the galaxy. While the defeat of the Varans had been a major victory, the galaxy was vast, and many of its powers were either indifferent or outright hostile toward humanity's sudden rise. Chapter 12: The Vartan Federation. The Vartan Federation was one of the oldest and most influential members of the Galactic Senate. A race of beings with elongated limbs and intricate, bioluminescent skin, the Vartans were known for their advanced technology and sophisticated diplomatic skills. Their homeworld, Varta Prime, was a lush, verdant planet that symbolized their prosperity and intelligence. As the Vanguard arrived at the Vartan homeworld, the crew was briefed on the importance of the meeting. The Federation had made no secret of their wariness toward Earth's newfound power, and many feared that this meeting could either lead to an alliance or to further tension. The Federation's capital, a sprawling city of glass spires and floating platforms, welcomed the human delegation. President Miles, accompanied by Admiral Thompson, made her way through the shimmering halls toward the Grand Council chamber, where the Federation's leaders awaited. As they entered, a silence fell over the room. The Vartan Council, a group of 7 esteemed individuals from various sectors of their empire, sat before them. Their leader, Chancellor Varos, a tall figure whose light blue skin glowed faintly, rose to greet them. "President Miles, Admiral Thompson," Chancellor Varos said, his voice smooth and calm, but tinged with an air of uncertainty. "We've heard much about your victory over the Varans. It was impressive, unexpected, but impressive nonetheless." "Thank you, Chancellor," President Miles replied, her tone steady. "We did what we had to do to defend our planet. But Earth is not here to fight wars. We are here to build bridges, to forge alliances, and to be part of the greater galactic community." Varos muttered, his sharp eyes scanning both of them. "Your victory was a remarkable demonstration of your species' capabilities." But it raises certain questions. Questions that we, the Vartan Federation, must address. Admiral Thompson stepped forward. We understand that Earth's rapid rise might be seen as a challenge to the existing order. But we're not here to impose ourselves on anyone. We seek only cooperation, mutual defense, and peace. Chancellor Varos's gaze softened slightly, but he did not immediately respond. Instead, he looked to the other members of the council, who nodded in quiet agreement. "We've watched you, Earth," said Sarin, a female Vartan with iridescent scales along her arms. "We've seen your people in action. Your military's capabilities are beyond what we anticipated. Your tactics, ingenuity, and speed in battle were unlike anything we've encountered." And yet, Varos interjected, the galaxy is not made up solely of military might. You cannot sustain yourself through war alone, not in the long term. If you wish to join the Galactic Senate, you must prove that you can handle the intricacies of galactic politics, of diplomacy, and of maintaining peace. Miles and Thompson exchanged glances. They knew that the political landscape of the galaxy was complex and that alliances were just as important as military might. Earth had to be prepared to navigate these waters. "We are prepared to do whatever it takes," President Miles said, her voice unwavering. "We know that peace is just as crucial as power, and we are willing to work with you, Chancellor, and the Federation to create a future that benefits all of us." The Vartan leaders murmured amongst themselves for a few moments, their bioluminescence flickering softly in the dim light of the chamber. Finally, Varro stood. "We will allow Earth to send a representative to the Galactic Senate," he announced. "But understand this: your presence will be watched closely. Your actions, your words, will carry great weight. If you fail to live up to the expectations of the Senate, your place in this galaxy will be in jeopardy." President Miles nodded. "We understand." With that, the meeting came to a close. It was a step forward for Earth, but it was only the first of many hurdles to overcome. The Federation had agreed to allow Earth a place in the Senate, but the road ahead was filled with uncertainty. Chapter 13: The Sarlatha's Silent Hand. Far beyond the reach of the Vartan Federation, in the depths of space, a quiet and unsettling presence watched Earth's diplomatic progress. The Sarlath, an ancient and enigmatic species known for their shadowy influence, had begun to take a keen interest in the humans. Their representative, the cloaked figure who had once spoken of intervening, stood alone in a dark, obsidian chamber. The Sarlath were known for their secrecy and their ability to manipulate events from the shadows. They had remained neutral for millennia, but the sudden rise of Earth had shaken them from their complacency. "We cannot allow this," the cloaked figure murmured to no one in particular. "Humanity's potential is vast. Their will is strong. If they continue to grow unchecked, they will disrupt the careful balance we have maintained. The galaxy must remain in the hands of those who understand power and control." The figure moved toward a series of holographic screens, each displaying various galactic factions, their movements, their alliances, their military strength. Earth was a new variable, one that could change everything. "We will act," the cloaked figure said, his voice barely a whisper in the vast chamber. "But first, we must test them. See if they can truly live up to their promises. If not, we will deal with them." And so, in the shadows, the Sarlath prepared. They would observe Earth, study it, and wait for the perfect moment to strike, whether that moment came through diplomacy, manipulation, or open conflict. But one thing was certain: the galaxy was on the cusp of a new era, and Earth was at the center of it. Chapter 14: The Road Ahead. Back on Earth, the galactic community had begun to take notice. Earth's military had grown stronger, its alliances more numerous. Diplomats and ambassadors worked tirelessly to ensure that humanity's voice would be heard in the halls of the Galactic Senate. Yet, despite the outward progress, President Miles knew that this was only the beginning. There were more players in this game than she had anticipated, and not all of them were as welcoming as the Vartans. The Sarlath, the silent manipulators of the galaxy, were already moving behind the scenes. And the other factions, whether they feared Earth's potential or coveted it, would soon take their own measures. Humanity had entered the galactic stage with a bang. But the real challenge was yet to come. "Admiral," President Miles said as they walked through the halls of Earth's new command center, "what do you think of the future?" Admiral Thompson turned to her, a determined glint in her eyes. "We've proven ourselves. But we need to be ready. The galaxy is not kind to newcomers. And we will need every ally, every resource, and every bit of strength we have to survive." Miles nodded. "We will stand together. Earth will thrive, no matter what challenges lie ahead." And as humanity looked to the stars, it knew that the road ahead would not be easy. But the fight was just beginning. And for Earth, there was no turning back. Chapter 15, The Final Test. Months had passed since the diplomatic meeting with the Vartan Federation. Earth had made significant strides in establishing its place in the galaxy, forging alliances, and expanding its military capabilities. President Miles and Admiral Thompson had worked tirelessly, facing challenges both on the battlefield and in the complex world of galactic diplomacy. Yet, despite the progress, a lingering question hung in the air: would Earth be able to truly integrate into the galactic order, or would it become the target of more powerful forces seeking to crush its rising influence? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Late one evening, as President Miles sat in her private office, a report arrived on her console. The message was cryptic, direct, and chilling: the Sarlith have made their move. Earth had long suspected the Sarlith were watching, manipulating events from the shadows. But no one had anticipated that they would act so boldly, so soon. Chapter 16, The Sarlith's Challenge. The Sarlith, long considered a neutral power in the galaxy, were now revealing their true hand. Their influence stretched far and wide, and they were not content to let Earth's rise go unchecked. Admiral Thompson stood before a holographic map, her face hard as she reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Sarlith ships had been spotted near several of Earth's new allies. They were not attacking, but the message was clear: they were watching, and they were ready to make their move. "We need to act now," Thompson said, turning to President Miles, who had just entered the room. "We cannot let them destabilize the alliances we've worked so hard to build." Miles nodded, her eyes scanning the information. "We need to prove to the galaxy that Earth is not a pawn in someone else's game. If the Sarlith want a challenge, we will give it to them. But we need the support of the Galactic Senate, and that means we must play this carefully." Thompson clenched her fists. "The Sarlith are not interested in careful negotiation. They will test us, just as they did with the Varans. We need to show them we're not afraid." Chapter 17, The Galactic Trial. The Sarlith's challenge came in the form of a diplomatic trial. The Galactic Senate, in response to the rising tensions, convened a special session to address Earth's entry into galactic affairs. The Sarlith had made their position clear: Earth's rapid rise was a threat to the balance of power, and the galaxy needed to decide if humanity could be allowed to maintain its newfound strength. President Miles, standing before the Senate, felt the weight of every stare upon her. This was her moment, the moment Earth could either be accepted into the galaxy's political fold or condemned to isolation. "We understand the concerns of the Sarlith and others," she began, her voice steady, but every word chosen with care. "Humanity's rise has been swift, and I recognize that the galaxy has never seen anything like it. But we are not here to dominate, to disrupt, or to claim what is not ours. We are here to work with you to build a future that is better for all." A murmur rippled through the Senate. Earth's words had been received, but the question remained: would the galaxy trust humanity? Before anyone could respond, a chilling voice echoed through the chamber. It was the Sarlith representative, the one who had orchestrated much of the tension surrounding Earth's ascension. "Your species," the figure intoned, "has proven itself strong. Too strong. We cannot allow the galaxy to be ruled by a power so unpredictable. The Varans were an isolated threat, but humanity is something different. You have no place in our galaxy unless you prove yourselves." Admiral Thompson's heart raced. The Sarlith were not here to negotiate, they were here to intimidate. We have already proven ourselves, Miles responded, her voice unwavering. Through our actions, through our victories, through our willingness to defend our people. But if this galaxy cannot accept that, then we will face it. We will not be deterred by threats, and we will not back down. The Sarlith representative stepped forward, his cloak flowing as if in defiance of everything Miles had just said. Then we shall see. We propose a trial by combat. A demonstration of your strength, Admiral Thompson, as the representative of humanity. If you win, humanity may remain in the Senate. If you fail, you will leave the galaxy for good. The proposal echoed through the chamber, and a tense silence settled. The idea of trial by combat was ancient, a test of might and will. It was an old tradition, one that many of the galaxy's factions still respected. But it was also a dangerous one, a fight that could end in disaster. I accept, Admiral Thompson said without hesitation, her words cutting through the silence. She knew this was the only way forward, the only way to prove to the galaxy that Earth would not be cowed by threats. Chapter 18: The Battle for Earth's Future. The battle was set to take place on a neutral world, a barren planet in the Outer Rim, where the galaxy's factions could watch with bated breath. The Sarlith had chosen their champion, a being known for his unmatched combat prowess, a towering figure, clad in dark armor, with eyes that gleamed with the cold light of ancient power. Admiral Thompson stood on the edge of the arena, her breath steady despite the tension that gripped her. She had fought countless battles in her life, but this was different. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for Earth's place in the galaxy. You know what's at stake, President Miles said, standing beside her. You don't have to do this. Thompson turned to her. This is how it's always been, Madam President. The galaxy respects strength. I'll show them that humanity can stand toe-to-toe with anyone. The Sarlith champion entered the arena, his imposing figure casting a shadow over the battlefield. He was a creature of myth, ancient, terrifying, and seemingly invincible. His mere presence caused the ground to shake, and his weapon, a blade forged from a rare and dangerous metal, gleamed in the harsh light. Thompson's hand tightened around the hilt of her sword, the weapon crafted from Earth's own finest materials. It was not the most advanced piece of technology in the galaxy, but it was a symbol, a reminder that humanity could fight on its own terms, with its own methods. The battle began. The clash between the two was nothing short of legendary. Thompson moved with precision, her training honed through years of military service. The Sarlith champion attacked with brutal force, each strike capable of tearing through rock. But Thompson was faster, more agile, and she used the environment to her advantage. The fight raged on, the crowd watching with bated breath as the battle between these two fierce warriors unfolded. The Sarlith champion struck again and again, but Thompson dodged, parried, and countered with a ferocity that only a Deathworlder could muster. Finally, with one final, calculated strike, Thompson brought the Sarlith champion to his knees, her sword aimed at his throat. The arena fell silent. I won, Thompson said, her voice steady, though her body was exhausted. And Earth stays in the galaxy. Chapter 19: A New Beginning. The Sarlith champion lay defeated, and the galaxy watched as humanity stood victorious. The Sarlith, unable to dispute the outcome, had no choice but to accept Earth's place in the galaxy. President Miles and Admiral Thompson returned to Earth, their victory a testament to humanity's strength, resolve, and unwavering determination. Earth had proven that it would not be a mere pawn in the galaxy's games. Humanity had fought for its place, and it had won. The Galactic Senate, though reluctant at first, recognized Earth's right to stand as an equal among the stars. And while there were still many challenges ahead, humanity now had a seat at the table, ready to shape the future of the galaxy. As President Miles addressed the people of Earth, she knew the battle was far from over. But for the first time, humanity could look toward the stars with hope, knowing that it had the strength to carve its own path. And so, Earth's journey among the stars had only just begun.